Hello, everyone, and we are now live on Facebook. This is a Local 100 Fightback Facebook live stream event. We're honored to be joined tonight by a number of members in the RTO Department. Conductor Adina Preme from the Q line is here joining us, as is Conductor Ralph Dunahai. It's Dunahai, right, or Dunahy, Ralph? Okay,
Sunny High is great.
Dunahai. That's what I thought. Okay, a nice Irish guy like me, right? All right.
I think it's Welsh.
Well, yeah. Okay. I don't got no beef with you all. Sorry. Tower operator Jason Lewis is also here with us. He's I know Jason as long as I've been in transit. He was in my school car class, and he's moved on to towers. And it was great to catch up with him at the recent conductors meeting. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also joining us are members of our coalition: Anthony Steiniger, train operator from the B division, and Seth Rosenberg, also a train operator from the B division. And this live stream is focused on talking about the conductor executive board race that's currently going on. It's a special election in conductor towers. And the reason for this election, we should take very personally. It's because Daryl Sweeney, an executive board member from Conductor Towers, died tragically from COVID-19. And that should kind of sharpen the mind about how important it is, what decisions we make in terms of leadership right now. Because, my personal opinion is that it would be a disrespect to the memory of Daryl Sweeney. It would be disrespectful to his memory and to the fight he led on the executive board, to have somebody who stood by and said nothing while our members died, who did not pressure the MTA to enforce safety, or to even implement their pandemic plan, which required them to provide all the PPE that we needed, up to 6 weeks supply. They were mandated as of December 2012. Do you think Jesse Argueta didn't know about that? Do you think Eric Lowell didn't know about that? Do you think any of your union leaders didn't know about that? Well, we can just go based on the evidence that we have. Eric Logel was in our crew rooms at Continental telling members they didn't need PPE, that it wouldn't do them any good. It wouldn't stop them from being infected. They were selfish for wanting PPE because we were going to take that away from doctors and nurses. And that was a lie, and he knew it was a lie at the time. And what's even more tragic is that some of the members in the room when he gave that lying speech got COVID-19. And they got COVID-19 because of Eric members died who did not pressure the MTA. Somebody doesn't have it on mute. Sorry. Okay. So, we've already paid a big price for the leadership that we have. And we certainly shouldn't be rewarding someone who was in a position of leadership like Jesse Argueta and giving him a promotion and rewarding him for not doing his job in the position he's currently in. And so we want to talk about members' own experiences with the leadership, their experiences with me as a union shop steward, and just the crisis that we face in terms of overall leadership in the union. I'm going to start with Jason because Jason was at a union meeting with me earlier this week on Wednesday night, talking about to talk about what the response is from the leadership even now when we're facing a second wave of COVID-19. What the preparations are, what the planning is to deal with that, and what the response is to the membership when we say it's not good enough, that it's not close to good enough, and that we should stop accepting not being safe at work and being set up to be a herd immunity experiment and die. So Jason, if you just want to come in here and talk about your experiences.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, um, the union has completely failed on this, and when pressed and questioned and about how their response to management, because management, you expect them to not care about us, you expect them to not provide what they're responsible for in terms of our safety. But that is why we have a union in place to hold their feet to the fire, to make sure they're responsible for what they're supposed to do with dealing with COVID and beyond. What I noticed from the meeting this past Wednesday, it upset me. It pissed me off, to be candid. And uh, Ferretti posed a question to them, asking them, okay, you've already sort of failed. I mean, that's putting it kindly, but you failed in your response to the management and their response to the pandemic. Okay, so going forward, what are you going to do to now hold them responsible and to protect our membership? And their response was, oh, it's not political. They got defensive. They made a whole big thing about how um, oh, it's not, it's, we're not, they're doing the little bit that they're doing now, and it's not because it's election time. It's, and but the point they completely neglected to respond to was, you did not do what you were supposed to do. And then, take responsibility as leadership. Take responsibility and say, okay, what do you want us to do? And listen to your constituency. But they do neither. So it's clear to me, when asked about what their response was, to, oh, we're working on it. But it's clear to me that you don't have to work on something. Like I was saying before, if I send, as a tower operator, if I send a train to the moon, they're not going to work on giving me a DAN. They're not going to work on giving me 15 days or 30 days in the street, whatever have you. So they hold our feet to the fire when it comes to rules and regulations. There's rules and regulations that govern them as well. At City Hall, the location I work at, me and my AM partner, we put in a safety resolution form. That safety resolution form, we emailed it, we faxed it to the superintendent. His responsibility he's supposed to send that to system safety. He never did. Michelle Figueroa, our current conductor tower chair, was absolutely no help. Absolutely no help whatsoever. As a matter of fact, not only did she not even bring the safety resolution form thing to our attention, but even when we brought it to hers, she did nothing to follow up to make sure to call her. We had to do all of that ourselves. And I say we, but really my very persistent AM partner, Malikia Burton, was super persistent about getting in contact with system safety. Um, and eventually we had our social distancing put in place. So we had that done. But the procedure that was supposed to happen is, until the safety issue is resolved, the work is supposed to stop. Period. When that was brought to the union's attention, they hemmed and hawed. There was no response to that. And it's just, this working on it thing. I'm very I have very little knowledge about how what a superintendent's responsibility is supposed to be, or a lot of the ins and outs of how the union functions. But even with my little bit of knowledge, even I could see that this was really straightforward, and this was a complete win. This is something that the union could have. They not only they could have easily won this battle over this COVID thing at every location. They could have easily won that, and they could have used that as a morale booster to the constituents, to the membership. Because right now, morale is really low, really low. We had, I don't know how many people die in the track department in flagging. We had conductors and train operators pass from this, and we had I think at least 3 tower operators pass. That's all of that is unacceptable and completely avoidable. So, but even going beyond COVID, there's still other safety issues that all can be addressed. But again, they drag their feet, and it's frustrating. But nonetheless, uh, one thing I will say, like I said, I've known Ferretti since I came into transit, 14 years. and he's been singing the same tune for the whole 14 years. He's like a broken record. And but I like I like the song. I like the song a lot, and it's the kind of song we need to hear, and it's the kind of leadership we need that actually is going to fight management, not rub elbows with, or put on kid gloves with, or and you can be respectful to management, but it's like what did Selassie, you keep your iron hand in a velvet glove, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, but
If they do what they're supposed to do, they'll get respect. But the thing is, we got to demand respect, and I don't see that from our union leadership, at all. But
exactly.
Jason, also, just to give members a background about some of what was discussed at the meetings, they're talking about a place like Lefferts, where there's constant leaks, where a wall is literally going to collapse, and they know it's going to collapse, and management knows it's going to collapse. And it went up to Henschke, who is like at the highest levels of management, and the response from the union leadership is that Henschke said he's going to work on it. And they made a visit out there. Drummond made a visit out there, and I went to Lugo to make sure that somebody went out there and dealt with the situation. And my understanding was they were going to deal with it, because I know myself, I can go out there and any worker could file a safety dispute resolution form. That's the minimum they should have done. Like unless you shut down locations and punish them, unless there's something that's going to be done to them to force them to act right, they're not going to act right. And we talked about in the meeting, they know this superintendent down there is fucking up and is not doing what our members need to have happen out there. They also know on that line that there are abusive supervisors. And yet there's just like wait and see attitude. And then Lugo's telling me, oh, well, we're making progress because we have Raul Lugo I'm talking about, we have 3 trailers now that have been put at Ditmars and a few other locations throughout the system. So I said to him, so are we going to get, and he said, we're making progress. I said, so are we going to get the respect and the social distance that we need, right? When? In 2050? When 1 million of us are dead? When 2 million of us are dead? When is it going to happen that we're going to demand these things to happen? So that was the context of what was going on. And there are many other locations, Continental and others that were talked about. And the response is always the same. We've brought it up with supervision. They're working on it. They're working on it. They're working on it. And my response is that's not good enough. But in any case, Seth, I see you have your hand up, so I'm going to let you get in here.
Yeah, on that, I think it's important. I think Jason's completely right. I appreciate him bringing it up. The problem is that, just quickly, COVID is airborne, right? The CDC finally confirmed it, right? So when the union says that they're working on it and they're making progress, it doesn't matter because the second wave is here in New York City already, right? In a month, it's already going to be too late. So what we have is 130 people die, 130 union members die from this because MTA didn't do anything and the union didn't shut down unsafe work, right? To answer your question, Jason, over 130 people died in our union from this, including officers. And the union didn't fight. They can say, oh, we did X, Y, and Z behind the scenes. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we died. They didn't shut down any locations. They didn't organize members to say no, right? That's all that matters. So whatever they say, BS. So then they have all summer after it dips down to do something. And what do? They diddle and diddle. The union doesn't push them to do anything. And now in the last 2 or 3 weeks, they start putting up these plastic barriers, which according to the newest CDC rules, don't solve the problem. They don't keep us safe, right? The truth is in RTO, I would estimate, right? I can't give you an exact number, but I would estimate 80 to 90% of our work locations are kill zones. They're places that are unventilated, they're underground, they don't have windows, that people sit in for an extended period of time. So if the union didn't push them to get ventilation or to build alternate facilities or put in alternate facilities for all of those locations before the second wave hit, then they are too late, right? And And so they can say we're working on it. But as you said, what matters is when they want to write us up or they want to mess with us, it happens immediately. But when our lives are on the line, the MTA doesn't do much, and the union is willing to let them go along with it, not shut stuff down. And we're going to start to see people getting sick and dying again.
Yeah, so I wanted to get other members in here to get a chance to learn from their experiences. Ralph, are you able to talk yet, or are you still driving, or what?
Sure, I can talk briefly, but I'm listening, and I really appreciate what Seth, what you're saying, and I agree 100%. And I mean, COVID aside, our facilities have been needing proper ventilation and safety measures since I started down here. And I mean, I only have 14 years, but
Rookie.
nonetheless, yeah, I see the problems, and I'm not politically involved enough to the point where I feel like I have any stake without recognizing that I need to take as much accountability as any other member. But nonetheless, my perception is that the union does not seem to have any influence over any major decisions that can affect the welfare of our members. And then my personal experience has just been that the union seems to be aligned with with the management that we're supposed to be, and they're supposed to be fighting for our rights. I mean, and it's that's kind of like the running joke, but that's been my personal experience. So, but I can tell you for a fact that John has always been a different story. Ever since I've known John, he's been fighting, and not just for transit, fighting for the working person. So that's John. So so like I said, I'm not very politically involved. I can tell you that from someone that isn't politically involved, I can tell you someone that actually is, and that isn't aligned with any particular outcome, any particular personal outcome. Let's put it that way, or any monetary outcome, or any of the different perks that tends to come with the unions. So that alone, I haven't seen that in any other person, let's say, that actually has an interest in being politically involved down here. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. And you're getting the family discount with my services as a shop steward, right?
Sounds like a deal.
It's always free of charge. Don't matter how many family members you have.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I know. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe in friends and family, but not the mob friends and family like our union leadership does. So I wanted to talk to Adina for a little bit. And I know, Adina, we kind of met during COVID, right?
Yes, we did. I was referred to you from somebody, actually, I think a train operator from the B Division RTO information. He said, I really can't give you an answer to your question, but I'm gonna give you John Ferretti. So that's when I contacted you through Facebook.
And she's been lighting up my phone ever since, haven't you?
And I've been harassing you ever since. I'm not politically correct with the union, but I could tell you that John is amazing. He answers all my questions. I call him from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. at night. He on reasonable hours. And if he does not know the answer to something right away, he gets back to me and sends me all the information I need. I contacted the union about COVID-19 because I needed to know information about the 14 days administrative leave. And I think I spoke to Michelle. I can't pronounce the last name. And, they weren't too friendly. I didn't get a direct answer. It was really vague. So I still didn't know what I had to do to get the administration leave and as the childcare. So contacted John, I got all the information I needed. I was able to take the 14 days administration leave, able to get the childcare, and that's all due to John. John is very knowledgeable. He's very helpful. He's friendly. No matter if he's not working or if he's, if he's not available, he gets back to me right away. I can't say I can't think of a better leader that we should have in the union. He knows close to everything that you need help with. And now I'm out on the IOD, and the first person I look to is John. And he's been helping me through this process, babying me, like basically giving me like ice cream through the whole way. Like I am he gives me all the information that I need to get this process. It's a very complicated process. It's not easy to deal with it. And instead of calling the union, I just call John. John has all the answers and everything is going smoothly. I just want to concentrate on John. I think he's amazing. When you're in transit and you don't know what's going on and you need answers to questions, you need somebody that can give you an answer. And if they don't know the answer, they could get you the information and get back to you. John always gets back to me 100%. He cares about our members. He would never, you could offer him a lot of money. He would never sell his soul. He's for the members. And that's all I got to say. Like, John.
Thank you, Adina. The check's in the mail. No, I'm just kidding. Got to show a sense of humor, otherwise everybody thinks you're very self-interested. So,
sorry to cut in, John. Adina reminded me when she was speaking, I forgot to mention. So the reason why we even knew about the safety resolution forum is because of John. John, did you put out a video message for anybody who would listen? I think you put something out to that effect, because I remember watching something and you were talking about the safety resolution forum in that.
That's right. Yeah.
Am I correct in that? You did put some, yeah. And I was like, yeah.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
That's how I got wind of it. That's how I got wind of that. If it wasn't for that.
Your partner too. I spoke to your tower operator. She called me.
Yeah.
Partner. Yeah. So like we were working together on that.
Yeah.
But I wish you would have gotten more of a response from the union leadership like you should have gotten. But I'm glad that it got resolved, but it's just like, why should you have to go through all of that just to be safe at work? It's just sickening, and like, not to make everything political. It's not about personality, or it shouldn't be. Certainly about leadership. Leaders should be in it for the membership. They should understand that they work for the membership, that it's not about them and their ego. But I got to be honest with you, those who are in the leadership of this union are very petty and are very personally motivated. And I feel it's my obligation to share with members just how petty they are. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you some flyers that were put out in the field about me. And I want your honest feedback on what you think about it. And they were put out by your RTO VP, Eric Logel. And don't let him lie and say he didn't do it. Because when I called out one of his members in the field that was petitioning for Jesse, and I told him that I knew it was him, he texted Eric, and Eric said, "Do you have video or do you have photographs of me doing it?" Notice he never said, "No, I would never do that." He said, "Do you have proof?" Sounds kind of like management, right? But let me just show you what he's been up to. Let me just share the screen. All right, so here's the first one that he put out. Okay, here it is. Oh no, this is the last one actually. Another ugly campaign by John Ferretti. 5-time loser John Ferretti has never won an election, but that's never stopped him from being a sleazy politician. Every campaign Ferretti runs is the same old story built on lies, slander, and vicious personal attacks. It's because Ferretti has no record to run on. Doing photo ops at protests while being, quote, too injured to work doesn't count. Why should members trust such a dishonest, hateful person? Our union can do better. Say no to John Ferretti's latest smear campaign. So that's one. And then where's the next one? Sorry, let me stop the
Oh
share.
my gosh.
Yeah, so
Oh my gosh.
that's just the first one. Oh, it gets better from there. That's actually the most recent one. Share screen. Okay. Share. All right. How do I get out of this?
That's horrible.
I'm just trying to get to the other one. Get to the other things that you put out, but it's here we go. Close. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, you guys seen this? Yeah, John the Fraud Ferretti. Imagine the nerve of this guy. John Ferretti has been absent from work for almost 2 years. That's because being a conductor is, quote, beneath him. Ferretti thinks he's too good to work at his tools. That's why he'll do anything to be off the road. If he's not, quote, getting injured and taking years off, he's running for union office at every chance. Because frauds like Ferretti have no shame, he sits at home and ridicules union reps and activists who actually put in the work. Now Ferretti is popping up in the field again because it's election time, and he's too good to work alongside you as a conductor, but he'll crawl out of his hole to beg you for a vote. Don't waste your time or your vote on a fraud like Ferretti. So then the last one is this one here, which says, John Ferretti scam alert. The special election has barely begun, and John Ferretti is in his usual place, deep in the mud. Ferretti is making his 6th run for union office in 10 years, and he started his latest, quote, losing campaign with yet another dirty trick. 5-time election loser is reposting an endorsement video from Eric Logel from 2017. Ever the conniving one, John prays people see this and are fooled into thinking Vice President Logel supports his run. He does not. While Logel did once endorse Ferretti, he hasn't supported him for a number of years now. And curiously, the person who wrote the flyer knows the exact vote totals from 2018. Who'd have thought it? Don't be fooled by the latest dirty trick from John Ferretti. You deserve better. So, in any case, this is what our union vice president, who makes over $100,000 a year, and currently is on vacation. Arranged to take a week of vacation to go in the field and sling this kind of mud in the field to our members. Basically standing over members, intimidating them to sign petitions for Jesse Argueta. And Jesse Argueta, who I spoke to that night, Jason, when we were at the meeting, before I even went into the meeting, I told him that if you're a real unionist, you should speak out against this. All right. You shouldn't want to win any votes this way. And you should want to say that you don't support that. And 48 hours later, still no word from Jesse Argueta. So I guess Jesse Argueta is perfectly okay with this kind of character assassination and harassment, and putting out somebody's medical information in the field. You know why I'm out of work for 19 months? I'm out of work for 19 months because Eric Logel didn't lift a finger to help me. He said, because I didn't appeal to him and beg him directly. That's why he didn't respond to my numerous emails about my spinal injury and being without pay for 5 months. And he didn't lift a finger to help me. And the MTA kept me without medical care for over 12 months, denying injuries that were documented with x-rays, MRIs, electronic nerve tests that they knew were valid. And all their claims got thrown out of court when we went to the Workers' Compensation Board. And then they stopped paying my differential. And so I put in a grievance 2 months ago. Hasn't even been a step 1 hearing on that grievance. Like Jason was saying, when it's time for discipline, they'll find a way, man. They'll do Zoom meetings to give you discipline, give you days in the street. But when it's when you're fighting for your money and your family's being pushed into poverty, no, guess who controls the schedule? The VP of the department. He controls the schedule on all the scheduling. So I wonder if that's a coincidence too. Seth, I see you have your hand up. But just so you know, like, even before he was on vacation, he was sick, supposedly sick, working from home for months. That's why you guys couldn't find him in the field. That's why nobody was able to get in contact with him to get the help they needed, because he was busy quarantined at home while we were dying. But he's going to call me a fraud? Please. Seth.
Sorry. I think Anthony wants to speak, and I already spoke, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I saved this because I pulled this down off of the bulletin board at Astoria yesterday, and it was right there where all the other union official stuff is.
Wow.
And you know, it's really sad. You know, I didn't even really want to address this crap because, you know, I thought maybe it was just, you know, something that they put up on their particular pages or whatever, and some bullshit. But they're putting this out into the field, and it's so childish. It's just childish. It's childish nonsense. Not to mention that it's a lie. And how do we have union leadership that does this? How do we have union leadership that does this? You know, I heard, you know, everybody else on the panel, some of you guys were saying that, you know, you're not politically savvy or whatever. And, you know, I feel the same way. But the thing is that you can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And it's a constant process of getting involved. And to everybody else that might be listening or watching this, you know, you have to take the first step of getting involved. You have to take the first step of attending meetings, of asking questions. That's the best way to learn. You know, ask questions of people who are knowledgeable. But unfortunately, we have a union leadership that will only assist people if they, you know, they're a supporter of them or if they like them. You have a VP who feels that every opposition to him is either something personal or political. And I've said this before, I will say this again, and I will say this in regards to everyone. This is not personal or political. I did not go and take a test expecting to meet anybody that I've met since I've been at this job. I did not go into medical when they first called me expecting to meet anybody that I met at this job. I did expect to have a decent union paying job where I would be able to pay my bills. And my involvement in the union is protecting that decent paying job, and also in the broader aspect, protecting and the working class and helping broaden our base here in New York City. We are the most powerful union in New York City. We potentially could be the most powerful union in New York City if we had the leadership that would take us there. And, you know, to address, you know, some of the nonsense that's in these flyers, it's more than just photo ops at these protests. You know, our union leadership should be at these different protests, especially now at this time in our country's history, when it's a reawakening of a class consciousness. It's a reawakening of trying to address some of the historical wrongs that have persisted in our country. You know, you have everybody that really sees this as being, you know, a pivotal moment in our country where we can really get this country to be what it wants to be, to really live up to the ideals of freedom and justice for all, to sound kind of, you know, cliche, but that's what's going on right now. And our union leadership should be at the forefront. We should have our union leaders at these protests. They should be organizing these protests. They should be in solidarity with other unions, the teachers, people who want to form unions with Amazon. It should be our union leadership doing this and not John. But John has taken it on, and he's doing it. John, others involved in the union, other people within our union have taken it on. Myself, Seth, we've been at these protests all summer long. But I haven't seen our union leadership doing that. You don't even see on the union website where they're building solidarity with other unions in this fight that is for our very lives. We are dying. We're facing that second wave. It is here. You know, and all the things that everybody just talked about, you know, it really shows that we have a pathetic leadership. And I don't understand, because, you know, we do have the Taylor law, which prevents us from striking. But the safety dispute resolution form is something that's totally legal, totally within the rules. And anytime any one of us puts it out there, the procedure should be followed to the letter, where the work stops until that dispute is resolved, until the safety issue resolved. And with COVID-19, it is a obvious danger. It poor ventilation in these crew rooms, poor ventilation, social in dispatcher's office, social distancing protocol not being followed, not being able to follow that social distancing protocol is something that the union should have been on from the beginning, but they weren't. And yet, instead of attacking Cuomo, instead of attacking union leadership, management, instead of getting out in the field and having stacks of safety resolution forms there for members to fill out, instead of consulting with members, because the knowledge isn't out there, instead of consulting with members and saying, this is what you can do to protect yourself and your family at this time. Instead of doing that, they can put out this bull crap. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. If you choose to vote for somebody who wants to stand with this, then you need to have your head examined. You need to have your head examined. You really do. You really do. That's it.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Jason, I see you nodding your head, and you've been talking even though you're on mute. So I was wondering if you wanted to get. Jason, can you hear me? Can you hear me? You're still
You gotta
on.
unmute your mic.
Oh, he got disconnected temporarily. Okay, I'm gonna go to Seth, and when Jason gets back on, we'll go to him.
All right, yeah. As soon as Jason gets back on, let me know, and I'll.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I think. The first thing to say is that those posters are just full of lies. Like with respect to the one about the video from Eric back when he actually had integrity, or it seemed like he had integrity. Anthony, John, and I were all on that live stream, and no one in there said that was Eric's position now. And we made clear that it wasn't, that he had changed, right? It was part of a thing about Eric selling out and showing that he had no principles because he gave up on everything that he stood for.
Jason, turn your phone a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so
Okay.
I think that Seth, I want to let Seth finish what he's saying, and then I'm gonna come to you. Okay.
No problem. No problem.
All right, Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what we have to remember is that the basics is that we have a union administration, certainly an RTO, that let members die and get sick and didn't push the MTA in public, didn't organize members, didn't shut down unsafe work. They have blood on their hands. And Eric Logel is at the top of that. And we all know how it works, right? I keep trying to just tell the truth about the union, right? In order to run with the incumbents and stay in office, you got to toe the party line. Eric got in with Progressive Action, but broke with them. He didn't have a home. And so he stayed with Utano in order to try and keep his union, keep away from his tools. And Jesse Argueta is following Eric's lead. He's been carrying his water. And the big thing in the union is don't mess with Cuomo. Don't challenge Cuomo. When Cuomo wants to run the trains, let the trains run. And so, whether it's with contracts or tier 6, any of that stuff. And so that's what happens, and members die because of it. And so John getting on the executive board is a threat to that, because John won't change. He cannot be bought. He won't sell out for release time, right? He's going to stay with, and he's going to call out Utano, and he's going to call out Cuomo, and he's going to demand that members be kept safe and that the union not sell out. And they don't want that voice on the executive board. And because of that, Eric Logel and Jesse Argueta they care more about stopping John from the executive board than they do about keeping their members alive, right? They're willing to take time off and put out these flyers and lie and fight. This is really important to them. They really need to do this. But when members are dying and getting sick by the hundreds and thousands, well, we'll have a meeting with the MTA, right? I wish they would fight the MTA and Cuomo like they fight John, but they won't.
We'd be winning if they were.
Yeah.
But Jason, I'm sorry you got cut off before. Go ahead. You got to unmute. It's that iPhone, man. I'm telling you.
It is. It's I'm not used to doing the Zoom. I did this one at the time with my phone. But yeah, no. I agree with Seth, and I agree with Anthony. I was shaking my head a lot with what Anthony was saying because it reminded me of what you said in the union meeting on Wednesday. You brought up a point of, and I didn't expound on that, or I didn't reiterate that because I wanted to focus on their failures as union leadership. But when you mentioned how we should be out there with the protesters, we should be out there with other unions and to get stronger together. So, our union working together with other unions and other people's movements would make our voices much louder, and it would make our movement much more powerful. But they completely dismissed that and said, "Oh, we don't care about all I care about is local 100. All I care about is local 100." You don't care about local 100. If you cared about local 100, you would have been going out there and talking to the membership about the safety resolution form. Because you don't really care, and you're not knowledgeable enough to know what to do. And because you don't actually care, you're just there to get off the road. I don't know what. But what I know for certain is that John Ferretti is not like that. John, it don't matter whether John's on the road, off the road, in the union, out of the union, he's always fighting the good fight, always trying to get people information and on how to protect themselves against management, on how to make the workplace safer for us before COVID, even before COVID hit, and after, I'm sure, and issues that are outside of COVID, safety issues that are outside of COVID. John is always fighting to make sure we have those things in place. But this union leadership, they're not about that at all. They're not about that, and it's clear and it's evident. It's not even like, well, maybe they got it. No, it's just so I do follow politics and I see what's going on, and I wouldn't consider myself politically savvy, but again, I know, you also mentioned Bernie Sanders the other night, John, and he's a candidate, and people make fun of me at work all the time because I'm always bringing up Bernie and the things he's fighting for, and because he was doing what Martin Luther King Jr. was doing before he died. People don't even, it's like they either don't remember or they're completely oblivious to why he was killed. He wasn't killed because he was fighting for civil rights. He was killed because he was fighting for economic rights. He was trying to get LBJ to get not a second Bill of Rights. I forgot what it was exactly legislatively. He was trying to get LBJ to pass.
Trying to get him right past the Civil Rights Act, right?
Yeah, he was trying to get the Civil Rights Act, but it was something else more to do with because he was, and that's why they was like, no, we got to kill this guy because he was fighting for poor people. He was fighting for poor people,
right?
And that's what Bernie did. Yeah, exactly. John sees the bullshit with how you and you were going, and you mentioned how it's like, the big corporations, and MTA is a big corporation. And I don't know this for certain, but I feel as though Cuomo in particular needs to be fought. Cuomo is super corrupt. Again, I'm not super politically savvy, but the little bit that I see this man does, it's laughable how, and I know that I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar that MTA is used as like a piggy bank for the governor and other, and so they have several different books, and they claim they have no money. Exactly. So it's Stokely Carmichael, you know what I mean? But and so it's all connected. It's all connected. I know I'm going off the rails. I'm sorry.
Jason, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I'm just so you know, the comments in our Zoom chat don't show up on the feed. So just so you know, Anthony was putting in the chat that Martin Luther King was fighting for leading a poor people's campaign, and he believes it was
Right.
a deal of rights, and that MLK conceived of himself as a socialist of some kind or another.
Right.
So I just want to make
Right. I noticed the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I noticed the last comment. Now that's why I responded to it. That's why I said Stokely Carmichael as well. But yeah, exactly. So it's just, and you're in that same category, John. You are fighting for the people. You genuinely care and are fighting for the people, and you're knowledgeable and you know how to help people. Like Adina was mentioning earlier, she was able to lean on you and come to you any questions she had. You know what I mean? That's the kind of person you are. You know, you're trying to divulge information even when people aren't asking.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
exactly.
I just want
So,
to say, sorry. I just want to say real quick.
okay.
Since John is out on IOD, he does not have to answer the phone all day and all night long. That's where I see that he cares about the people, because he doesn't have
Exactly.
to answer my phone calls. And I called him
Exactly.
numerous times. And yeah, that speaks volume. So, and another thing, I would not want to vote for somebody who's so petty and deceitful to put
Right.
garbage out to win a vote. You're not supposed to win votes that way. You have to win it the right way without
Yeah.
downplaying somebody. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Well, no, thank you, Tina. And speaking of which, where is Jesse Argueda's campaign literature? Where is one thing he is proud that he's done, that he is putting himself forward to be on the highest decision-making body of this union? I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything other than that he handed out masks in April. And to be honest with you, handing out masks in April is like closing the barn door after all the animals are out, because dozens of our members were dead. Jason, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, because I wanted to interject there too. Again, going back to the meeting, when they said that, I kept thinking to myself, you are handing out masks. That's great. That's you know what? You took time out of your personal time out of your day to hand out masks. What would have been better is if you had put your foot on management's neck to at least, you know what I mean, amongst other things. But you know what I mean? Like that's part of the problem with this union leadership. That's your answer to this whole COVID situation, like for you to hand out masks. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but what should have been, that should have been after everything that you did first in regards to pushing management in the direction that they should go, the responsibility they should take.
Yeah. And Jason, the point you made at the meeting last night is that we have to bend them to our will. And that's very important. I mean, it's very, like, no bullshit. Like, they don't care about our lives. Like that number
They
that's
don't.
passed, that's how they see you. They'll literally step over our dead bodies, and they are pushing 8,400 layoffs for New York City transit workers. And these fools are still saying, well, they're working on it. They're working on it. Brought it to their attention. They're working on it.
No, sorry to cut you, but management is working on trying to bullshit us, and they're doing a pretty good job. Actually, they're not even really bullshitting us. They're just working on not addressing our issues for as long as they can. And again, I'm not even angry with management. I expect this from them. This is I'm not, you know what? I welcome them to do that in a sense. But what pisses me off is that our union, who is in place for this very reason, is just is as an opposition to them, as to make sure they do what they're supposed to do. They're not doing that. No, you have to bend. Like I said, you're right. I would rather what I said was correct in that you have to bend them to our will, because they're not going to do the right thing. They don't want to do the right thing. They're inherently motivated and incentivized to not do the right thing. Because if they could, they would fire us all and bring in Mexican day laborers. If they could, they would totally do that. They would, or outsource our jobs to China or whatever. You know what I mean? But they can't do that.
Yeah.
But but that's what the union is supposed to be there for, to make sure that or if we didn't have unions or effective unions, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, we would still have child, we wouldn't even have child labor laws, or we wouldn't even have 2 days off consecutively, or just all sorts of things. And little by little, the union, ever since when Ferretti, you and I got in here, and just after Tucson, just after Tucson and everything that happened in that '05 strike, and it's been eroding ever since.
Yeah,
it's been eroding ever since, and we need somebody like you in there to rebuild our infrastructure as a union leadership.
but Jason, just so you know, I agree with everything you said, but I'm not going to do anything by myself. And don't send me
Of course not.
a water pistol in a gunfight, okay? Because I don't like those odds. You know what I mean?
I got you.
I think the way we need to negotiate is
And
to amplify our members' voices, to let you loose on them. That's when they'll fear us. They're not going to fear me individually, nor should they, right? Why would they? But you got to negotiate. The way our union has to negotiate is when I go to negotiations, I take them outside, I take them to the window and say, you see the 10,000 workers out there? They want to kill you, man. Okay? They're going to kick your ass. What are you going to do?
right.
You're going to be a little more cooperative now? That's the kind of the kind of approach we have to have, is that our strength is our members. Our strength is our numbers. Our strength is our ability to shut everything down.
That's true.
To make it stop. So yeah, although I agree with you, is that you want somebody in there that's going to do that. I don't want to be alone, and I can't be alone because it's not going to work. But so I just want to make sure we're clear ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Agreed. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I see that Anthony wants to ask a question, and then I'm going to get to Seth. So go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, when you just mentioned your negotiation strategy about pointing out the window, I just thought of something, that has been on my mind for like the past week or so, is that, we're a year into this current contract?
A little more than a year, yeah.
A little more than a year, and the contract was a 4-year contract?
Something like that, yeah.
So wouldn't it make sense for our union to be organizing us and coming up with some sort of strategy to negotiate the next contract right now? Because the word was just used, eroded, and when Jason said that, that's the perfect term for exactly what's been happening. It's erosion. It's a slow process. But I've been here 13 years, and not as long as most of you guys here. But from every contract that I see, and just doing the basic math, we're losing buying power every contract. Now, had they done that all at once, people would have been outraged. It would have been, oh my God, we're getting zeros, all across the board. They're increasing my medical. They're giving us $100 deductible. Had they done that all at once, it would have been, outrageous. Just like if you see like a mountain, the Appalachians, were once taller than the Rockies, but the erosion over millions of years has eroded them down to something almost like foothills. But at one point they were taller than the Rockies. And this is what's happening with our wages and our benefits. And we're getting and it's the same strategy over and over that our union is taking into these negotiations. Yeah. We remain clueless. The rank and file, we remain clueless as to what it is going on behind closed doors that's going to affect our lives and our families' lives. Mm-hmm. And this is why I say none of this is personal at all. If you think that way, you're off your rocker and something's wrong with you, and you shouldn't be in a leadership position. If you think somebody's a questioning of you or their opposition to you when you've done wrong is personal, then you should not be there. It's not personal. Every single one of these members on this call, every single body out there, every single person with a pass ought to have has an interest in what the union does, especially during negotiation times. And it's the responsibility of the leadership to rally the members, to keep the members informed, to let the members know that it's not a lost cause, that we're going to fight. You know, to be honest with you, you know, I don't really get into who's elected to office. I'm supporting John, and I'm supporting Mo. But if we were a real union, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter who's there, because whoever's there would be beholden to the membership, and they would be organizing and rallying the membership. They would be out there every single, at least 2-3 times a week. We should see a union member, every single one of us, a union rep, a union elected officer. 2 or 3 times a week, we should see one, and we should be engaged in conversation. They should be shop gating like they did to build this union back in the days, to build us towards the next fight. And you know, right now it's sad, and I can't wait till you're in there. You know, we got some people who are in there now who shook things up during contract time, but we don't have enough. And, you know, we need to. You know, this guy went Logel. He ran in opposition to Utano, and ran in opposition to 2% raises, and ran in on almost everything that we've been talking about here. And then as soon as he got in there, you know, before, you know, it seemed like before he even wiped his feet on the mat, you know, on the doormat, he switched up and sided with Utano.
Yeah.
And it's pathetic. You know, we can't have that. And that, you know, when I get on these live streams, I do it all the time. And you know, like Jason said, you know, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be completely politically savvy, but you do have to recognize that your involvement in the union is for your interest. You know, these guys aren't your bosses. You know, they aren't anything but another member who won a popularity contest. That's all it is. But together, we are the union, and we have to get together and change this. And I implore each and every person that's listening to this to just take the small step of getting involved by asking questions, reading the information that's out there, and attending a union meeting. And let's build towards changing this so that the next contract that comes around, or even right now, while we're in the midst of this second wave, right now is when it's really needed. You know, we can shut things down to save our lives. You know?
Anthony, just to pick up on your points, speaking of being involved, you can be involved in these discussions. You can be involved in these live streams. You can email us at local100fightback@gmail.com during the live streams. Give us a number where we can call you. We can put you on live to talk about your experiences. And that's what your union should be doing. Like people said, what your union should be doing is being involved in the protest, uniting us with other workers, showing our strength. That's why they're pissed. That's why they're pissed. And that's why I am such a thorn in their side, because I am showing that even an individual member, even a handful of individual members can build unity and show our strength. Imagine what they could do. And what they're pissed about is that it exposes them for the frauds that they are. And speaking of being a winner, let's just remember that Eric Eddy rode to the position where he's currently selling us out on another man's popularity. Okay. Half of those 691 voters who voted for him probably don't even know who he is. And I'm speaking to those 691 voters now. If you do know who he is, you know he sold out. And this election is a chance for you to make a verdict and a referendum on whether that was right, whether that was what you thought you were going to get when you voted for him. Okay, so we can make things right, and we must have enough self-respect to hold our own leaders accountable, because we will never hold management accountable if we cannot hold our own traitorous, lying leaders accountable. One other thing I wanted to comment about Anthony's point, about the contract. Why is it so silent around here? 8,400 layoffs proposed in New York City Transit alone. $1 raise in the fare, in the subway fare, that's going to hurt poor people, poor working class people like us, and our union is silent. Okay, a 40% cut in service, and our union is silent. 22,000 layoffs of city workers proposed, and all the unions are silent. Does that sound ominous to you? Because it should. Because when they're silent, they're conspiring against us. When Jason says the MTA is fraudulent and that it's a lot of corruption, well, there's $53 billion worth of bond debt that funds the MTA at 4% interest over the next 30 years. And guess where that money goes to? The Jeff Bezoses of the world, the JP Morgan Chase of the world, Citibanks of the world, people who pay no taxes in this city. And so, yeah, the MTA is bankrupt on all their books, but because they're not paying taxes to provide basic social services, they're just like Trump in a lot of ways. They don't want to pay for roads. They don't want to pay for bridges. They don't want to pay for sewage systems, transit systems, education. They don't want to pay for nothing. And they want to basically make that the new normal and get you to accept it. And we don't have to accept it. And we should be calling out our leaders because we know they are conspiring against us. We know they're in meetings with Cuomo right now. Oh, we won't do layoffs, but we'll do, job cuts through attrition. We just won't hire people after they retire. And guess what that means for you as a tower operator? That you're doing more work for the same amount of pay, and that you're going to work yourself into an early grave thinking that overtime is somehow going to pad your pension. And then what happens to the average transit worker? 2 years after they retire, on average, they're dead. Okay, so we got to think about what's going on right now, because this is a setup for the future attacks. And what Anthony was saying is that they came at us a little at a time. Yeah, in the past. Now they're coming for everything. And Seth, I know Seth is going to speak somewhat about that, so I wanted to get to him. So Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, just one, I'll say a little bit about gathering signatures. I'll be honest, my main pitch, gathering signatures, I'd be like, I'm gathering signatures for someone for the executive board position. They're like, who? And first thing I'd say is, listen, they're not someone who's in office right now, right? Because I said, my question would be, you want to engage with people. I'm like, what do you think of how the union handled COVID-19 and kept us safety? And people are like, oh, give me that. Let me sign that. If he's not in office, okay, And I said, John's a fighter. Local 100 Fightback has played a big role in trying to fight for safety among members. I didn't even know, Jason, about the thing about you guys using the safety dispute resolution form stuff from us, but it's good to know. And that's why we tried to get it out there. I did one myself. I almost got taken out of service, for trying to create social distance with in my cab and stuff like that. I tried to organize people. The other thing I wanted to say just real quick, and I'm glad John said it, is this isn't about whoever getting to office being a hero who's going to do everything on their own, right? Unions formed and won because tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of members came together and fought together, right? And the thing that I respect about John and about my coalition is that we believe that the way to win is to tap into workers' power, right? When workers get angry and they organize and they fight back together, we win. But we have leaders in office who do everything they can to keep us passive, to keep us from rising up, right? That's, one of the reasons we go to protests and try and get members to go to protests is because with respect to Black Lives Matter, it's an important cause. It's the system oppressing people, particularly people of color connected, which our union are majorities of, but also because it's places where people are actually fighting back. And if union members come out and see where people are actually juiced up and standing up against the attacks and oppression, they might take the ideas back to our union. But everywhere we go inside the union, we see our leaders trying to just saying, we're going to negotiate behind closed doors. We don't want to the members aren't going to get involved. Maybe we'll have a rally where people come out and stand there for a couple hours and then go home, right? When Local 100 Fightback did a rally at 2 Broadway, I mean, granted, it was a lot smaller, but any member who wanted to speak could come up onto the stage, come up and speak, right? And then we all went into the 2 Broadway, into the MTA board meeting. And people who had never spoken before got up and gave the MTA a piece of their mind. It was amazing to see the next generation of leaders starting to form. And then on to what John was just talking about, right? We have to realize that we are in a crisis like workers and transit workers have never seen in our lives. People are dying from COVID-19, and what we really are in is a Great Depression, right? No one wants to say it, but we are in a Great Depression with the number of jobs lost, and they're not coming back anytime soon because the vaccine isn't going to be mass distributed for at least a year from now, right? The economic consequences are going to be massive. So we have contracts. Some workers don't. We have contracts, but there's nothing to guarantee against layoffs. So what if the MTA comes up to us and sends to Utano, we're going to lay off 10,000 of your people? He can't say you can't do that, right? Because they can. So what does that mean they're going to do? They're going to go and they're going to say, Utano, he's going to fold. And he's going to say, okay, we don't want layoffs, but we'll give you back X, Y, Z, open the contract, give up raises, we'll pay more for our pensions, we'll do X, Y, and Z. That's their game plan, right? They've done it in other great economic crises. They want give backs, they want contracts reopened, all of those things, right? And so we need leaders who will stand up and say, no, you can't do that. And we are going to go to the members and we're going to mobilize and we're going to stop you from doing that, right? And that's not who we have in office right now. And the last thing I wanted to say on that is, it was just in the news a couple of days ago, right? With this economic crisis and ridership dropping, the MTA is in a real financial crisis. There's no way around that. It's true, right? And we can fight and we can organize with other workers and we can fight, and we should absolutely do that. But another piece of this is, without federal money, right, it's going to hit a lot harder. And this, I'm a socialist. I haven't voted in a presidential election for the Democrats or Republicans since Bill Clinton in '92, I think, right? But if Trump gets into office again, Trump doesn't care about New York City. He doesn't care about transit workers. He doesn't care about public transit, and he hates unions and he hates people of color, right? So this election matters to transit workers, right? If Trump wins, the MTA is not getting anything, right? But if Biden wins, the MTA will get a bailout, right? Federal and state funds is something the Democrats have been pushing for. I'm not a fan of the Democrats overall, but this is just looking at this particular situation, right? And we have to realize that that's important, that a lot of our jobs and a lot of our particular wages and things of that nature will be really affected by this election. And Trump is the greater danger and the enemy. There's no doubt about it.
It will also be greatly affected by the fact that the racist, psychotic, antisocial movement that Trump has whipped up will be dealt a tremendous blow and a defeat. And that is always in our interest, to make it unfucking cool to be a racist psychopath, to put the message out there that the majority of the people in society hate them and hate everything they represent. And that's important and it matters. And trust me, I know Biden is a terrible candidate and I don't have any illusions in him whatsoever. But if you use any weapon you can in a fight, and we're losing this fight right now, and we need time and space to build the struggles that can actually fight for the things that we really need. Ralph, it's been too long, man. What's going on? How you doing?
Awesome. I just dropped off my babies. I have a 1 and a 2-year-old, so they take my whole life force. But I'm here. I'm completely engaged, man. And I appreciate everything I'm hearing. So.
All right, how's the family? Everything good?
Everything is great. Everything is perfect. The kids are doing their job.
You're raising the next generation.
Yeah, but we're using everything that's left to go to our job. So
yeah, see, that's the thing people don't understand too, right? They don't understand. They see the MTA on your logo on your shirt, and they think, wow, you got it great. They don't understand like all the sacrifices. They don't understand like it's not just one job. And especially for women workers, like what ends up happening, the burdens of a lot of that gets put on them, and so people it's easy when you look from the outside, they think you made it, and this is what capitalism does to us. It has us all envious of each other for the crumbs, with our knives out for each other's throat, as if we're the cause of the problem, because we never see the Bezos of the world. We never see the Cuomos of the world. We don't live their life. We can't even relate to the life they live. So therefore we're constantly like at each other, and that's another reason why these demonstrations are so important, because you get to actually talk to other workers and know what they really think, and know what their experiences are like, and learn from their experiences. So once again, I'm going to pump the demonstration tomorrow at 2 p.m. We are the first organization, Local 100 Fightback, that called for this march. It's a mass march for taxing the rich, defunding the NYPD, and stopping the layoffs. There are going to be nurses and doctors and other medical professionals there. There are going to be teachers there who've been dealing with horrors during COVID. There's going to be people involved in Black Lives Matter struggles, people involved in prison reform struggles, homeless advocacy, people from all the struggles that you've been seeing, all the protests you've been seeing. This is a way to unite them all in common cause together and to show our collective strength. And we really need transit workers to show up. You have to understand that none of these struggles are separated, and that we win or we lose together. And right now we're not winning, and we have to change the balance of forces. So you're a small role in that, can be telling other people about it, can be watching the live stream when we live stream the event on Facebook Live tomorrow. This is going to be an ongoing coalition of working class. Okay, we know where the money is in society. It's in Jeff Bezos's pocket. It's in Trump's pocket. And unless we fight to take it out of their pockets and put it into the kinds of social services that we all need, we're only going to get in more and more desperate times and more sacrifice for no reason other than that this world is not meant for us under the current organization of society. So in any case, would other people like to speak at this point? I'm sorry, Jay. Oh no, I'm sorry, Ralph. My bad.
Well, John, I just want to add, I would have loved for my wife to have been able to be on this phone call because, she's had two babies while we've been down here, and she's definitely had some issues with the union, and I just feel like there's something wrong with our system, that the system that the people that we work for, because it's kind of like if you don't know what you don't know, can hurt you down here, as opposed to there being some type of a structure set up where you would think the MTA would kind of inform you, here are your rights, because you work for us. We actually don't exist without you. So she definitely hit a few roadblocks and contacted the union, and she found the union to be quite inept and like knowing like some basic things, like regarding women's rights, in terms of going back to work and things of that nature. So that's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, Ralph, the invitation's always open for her to come on. Okay, we have a long-term relationship as well. But that the kind of unionist I am believes that a woman's place is in her union, and that she shouldn't have any shyness about speaking her mind. And I know I don't have to tell your wife, right?
I wish we did. I definitely wish we did.
So, Adina, I wanted to give you a chance to speak if you have any thoughts about these issues.
Well, I want to talk about one of my concerns that I've been concerned about for the last couple weeks. I think Seth mentioned it about the layoffs possibilities. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been afraid of that happening, especially being out on work. That really scares me, like not knowing what the future holds and going through the second wave and seeing all the businesses close down and not opening and having ridership. Like, where does that leave us? Or do we have is our job guaranteed? Who's fighting for it? Who's fighting for us to, keep our titles and not be getting rid of like trash? So I've been concerned about that. Definitely.
Well, just so you know, you mentioned the workers' comp thing. I just want to make sure you know that there is no way that they can do layoffs except by seniority. Like they can't say because you're on workers' comp that you're going to be the first one to be laid off or anything like that. They can't do that. That's
Yeah,
illegal.
that's definitely a concern of mine.
Yeah, no, that's illegal. But you definitely should be concerned about, like, especially if you don't have a lot of time, right? Like that.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
last hired, first fired. That's how layoffs work. But like the they don't have to happen. They want to make it seem like it's some kind of act of God, like it's a hurricane that nobody could prepare for, and that's a bunch of bullshit. Unions that get layoffs accept them, and don't lead struggles to stop them from happening. As Jason said, they don't bend them to our will, and they don't lead the kind of struggles that put the fear of God into them about what will happen if that word even comes out of their mouth. And so our members fundamentally got to be heard in order to stiffen the spine of our leadership. I wish that wasn't the case. It doesn't. I'm proud of my union. Like I'm a trade unionist. I believe in unions. I believe in the ideas that founded them, because the ideas that founded them were socialist ideas, like the ones that my entire life has been about. But at the same time, like, we can't be too sure where the leadership that already agreed to 1,000 layoffs and didn't lead a fight at all, except pathetic PR rallies outside a condominium on the Upper West Side. That's all the fight they led when 1,000 bus operators and station agents got laid off. So we should definitely be very worried about what they might do, in this kind of circumstance. So, but the best defense against that is jumping in their neck, like that's an old trade union term, like coming to the meetings, being on them constantly about the lack of fight, demanding answers. You pay for their cell phone, you pay for their email, you can jump on their Facebook account, you can get to them and make them feel pressure. And you can also do the things that Jason's talking about, that when you're at work and you feel unsafe and you feel it's an unsafe condition, we can take action and we can have each other's backs and we can change the culture down here. And it just takes a little bit to change the culture, a whole lot. But like I said, I can't do that all by myself, and we got to have each other's backs and be communicating about what each of our issues are. Because, like I tell a lot of workers when I'm out campaigning or just talking to workers in general, I don't know the first thing about what it means to be a Black woman in this society. I could not tell you your experiences. And for me, even if I wanted to, even if I was coming from a place of empathy, I can't speak your truths, period. You've got to speak your truth. Same thing for anybody else's situation. The union is supposed to amplify the voices of all of us, and that's what's been happening for so long, is that our voices have been so silent that we don't even know each other's experiences, let alone the tens of thousands of other workers that we never meet that are part of this union. Jason, I see you nodding your head. I was wondering if you wanted to speak for a minute. And I see Seth, you have your hand up too, right? Okay. Jason, you want to go first?
Yeah. No, I just I'm in agreement with everything you're saying in regards to uh the union has to they have the reason why we even have unions is it is born out of a socialist idea and mindset, in that where we as a society, we take care of each other, and that's sort of like the philosophy behind a union and socialism in general. And the union is supposed to rally the people. That's one thing that it's not lost on me, that you would make an excellent tower conductor chair, but it is not lost on me that you're only as good as the members that get involved, and we have to get involved. We have to collectively come together and and do this thing. And we have to rally, and we have to pressure management to do the right thing by us, for us, and by us. And yeah, it's just that I lost.
Jason, you froze for a minute. I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
Mm.
Jason, you're on mute.
I think he's lagged too. So
Okay.
Mm.
Jason, you there? Jason, you there?
He's frozen. He's freezing out.
Yeah, you can hear me, but we can't hear you. So I'm gonna go to Seth for a minute, okay? All right, go ahead, Seth.
yeah, I think like one thing I want to say with respect to Jason is just to make it clear that one thing that John never does, and I certainly never do either, is we never blame the membership for the state of the union or for the state of things right now, right? Like, the problem is people who run for office, right? You're an officer, right? The union is like an army. Officers are supposed to lead. They're not supposed to fight the battles completely themselves, but they're supposed to organize and lead the troops, right? That's not what we have right now. We have a layer of bureaucrats who sit in the office and they talk to management and they make deals. And it's not just our union, it's basically every union in the country right now. So we can't say this union's better or that union's better. It's a system-wide problem, right? But what John would do if he was in office, and I think any member of Local 100 Fightback, is if they got into office, they would be spending a huge part of their energy trying to get members mobilized. How do we know that? Because Local 100 Fightback has been doing that ever since it was formed, right? We formed around trying to stop job cuts and service cuts in other departments, mostly, not even in RTO, because we believe an injury to one is an injury to all. We worked with people in stations. We got politicians involved. We got people out to protest. We got the media involved, and we helped get those pushed back, right? We organized contract rallies. We organized speak outs. We played a big role in organizing this protest. I mean, look right now, as I said, this is the biggest crisis that unions have faced probably since, Patco with Reagan, or probably worse than that. And our unions haven't organized a mass rally of workers to fight back against these coming cuts, right? They have millions of dollars from our dues money. They have lots of staffers. They could come together and say, let's have a protest in New York City. Let's have a protest in DC to say, it's a simple message. Essential workers kept the economy running and paid with our lives while other people were staying in hiding and protecting themselves. We paid with our lives. Now you want to lay us off? Hell no. Where is that message coming from Utano and Logel and Samuelson and other unions saying, we're going to come together and have a march to say, we sacrificed enough. We are not going to pay because you politicians failed to get this virus under control. But they aren't doing it. But yet John and I spoke about it and we said, let's reach out to teachers. Let's reach out to nurses and say, let's have a rally that says, stop the layoffs, tax the rich. Workers shouldn't sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, like, there's been no response to Trump. I mean, they are planning on installing a right-wing, anti-worker, racist Supreme Court for decades, and there hasn't been a peep from the union leadership. Not a word. That's scary. That's scary. We're going to live with this for decades, and the institutions of our class are sleepwalking. Jason, I know you wanted to get in a while ago, and then Anthony's right, but are going to be speaking after you. So go ahead. You got interrupted, Jason. I think you still have a problem with the volume. Yeah, the phone's not working, is it?
Jason, why don't you try to drop off and join back?
Yeah, try to drop out and then re-log in. Okay.
Sometimes that helps.
All right, Anthony. Good.
Yeah, I have to go in a few.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but you know, to speak in line with what we're talking about is like, you know, yeah, I was in the military, you know, and the fact is that, you know, it's the leadership's responsibility. And, you know, in sports, you know, if anybody here is a sports fan, you know, when the team doesn't win, they fire the manager, they fire the coach, you know. And so you have guys, you know, talented teams, and the teams don't win, but then when you install a new coach, the team goes and wins a championship, you know. And you know, it has to be like that in the union. It has to be where, you know, like, you know, my earlier comment when I said, you know, with something like this going on, even without this going on, you know, there's no reason why here in RTO or in other departments, you should see a union officer at least 3-4 times a week at your work location. You shouldn't have to seek them out. And it shouldn't be because something is wrong. It should be just because, you know, they recognize that it's a union and that, you know, we're all one, and that an injury to one is an injury to all. You know, I'm not a pregnant woman, can't be a pregnant woman. My wife doesn't work down here. My daughter doesn't work down here. But, you know, when Evangeline, you know, called for, you know, to organize something to help our member who tragically miscarried while working at a hazardous location in the yard, you know, doing a hazardous task, a task that even, you know, anybody that is restricted shouldn't really be doing in the heat. You know, I showed up and I went there to support. You know, when a PA calls an assault rally, I go there. I spoke at one. You know, and I think all of us should do that stuff, that kind of stuff, because, you know, these are the things that our union leadership should be doing. You know, I'm with this coalition because, you know, this is what we do. We go out, you know, with the L line. That was one thing where Seth and I, we were harassed by the police. They came over and threatened us with arrest for simply handing out flyers saying that, you know, this stuff hasn't been vetted. It hasn't been proven. You know, it's not safe. It's potentially not safe. We want to have, you know, the proper studies, the proper investigations done before you send members here and before you send the riding public through these tubes. We want to have the information out there as to what is the safety, you know, how safe is it to go into this area? You know, that's the reason why I'm with this coalition. And if our union leadership was to do that, I would be there with them too. You know, it's just that simple. It's not anything personal. It's the fact that we have to act as if an injury to one is an injury to all. You know, we can't look at you know, when it comes to these contract negotiations where we have like give backs or whatever, or you know, the $100 thing with the emergency room visit, that may not affect me too much. But someone who has a family member, you know, that depends on them, who has a chronic condition, that could potentially break their budget. You know, they have to pay $100 a time every time they have to visit an emergency room. You know, so it's like we can't look at these give backs and things like that as like, oh well, it doesn't affect me. We can't look at something that happens in another department as like, oh well, that's buses. Oh well, that's track. You know, but our union leadership seems to be, you know, they pit department against department, and they keep us, you know, discombobulated, disunited, you know, and we're not effective.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm with this coalition. That's the reason why I went out there and gathered signatures for you, John. And that's the reason why I'm pissed off at what these people do. It's childish, it's nonsense, and it's lies. You know, and it's dismaying coming from union leadership to see crap like this.
Yeah.
You know, but to wrap up, you know, because like I said, I gotta go. The protest is tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
You know,
Square.
Union Square.
Washington,
2 p.m.
Washington Square, 2 p.m.
Washington Square.
Square Park, the big arch.
Washington Square Park. Yeah. Washington Square Park, downtown, West Fork, 8th Street. Yeah. And, you know, I encourage everyone to be there. You know, we have to show this type of solidarity with other unions, other organizations, other workers throughout the city, throughout the country. We have to show that type of solidarity. We have to build this movement to push back against what's happening in this country. And for those of you who are in RTO, you know, train operators, conductors, tower operators, conductors and tower operators and train operators, we can attend each other's meetings. The next union meeting is this upcoming Wednesday. It's at 10 a.m. and at 6 p.m. I strongly encourage all of you, every single one of you, to get to that meeting, ask questions, and voice your concerns. Let's start to build this to where we need to have it, to where we can, as Jason says, bend them to our will.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm gonna sign off. I thank everybody for coming.
Okay.
And
Anthony, thank you very much.
I'll see you tomorrow, John.
By the way, Anthony's going to be speaking. He's going to be giving a speech at that rally. So that if you didn't have another reason to come, you should definitely come for that. 'Cause Anthony knows how to lay into it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I'm coming just for that.
I built you up. The pressure is on. But I'll also be speaking at the rally. And just one point about like the union leadership, like we would support them in any step they took to fight the bosses. The problem is that they embarrass us constantly. They disgrace the name of our union every time they open their goddamn mouths. Every time Tony Utano opens his mouth, he lowers working class people and other people we want to unite with, their opinion of transit workers and our ability to understand what they're going through. And so these small actions, it gets them to the point where they say, yeah, transit workers get it. Transit workers have our back. Transit workers rally to our defense, so we should rally to their defense. And it means that it makes it more likely that they'll come to our defense when we need them. And goddamn if we don't need them. And so that's the point. So the rally is going to be leaving from Washington Square Park at 2 p.m. We're going to be marching in Jeff Bezos's luxury apartment on 26th Street and 5th Avenue. And we're going to be going to Andrew Cuomo's office on 3rd Avenue and 41st Street. And we're taking it directly to the people who are keeping us in poverty and threatening our jobs after they walked over our dead bodies during the COVID crisis. And any transit worker or their family or other workers that are available, we want to see you there. And we already know that it's going to be well attended. There's at least going to be well over 100 people there are already confirmed to come. And if you got time, and you're not working, we want to see you there. Secondly, if you're a conductor in the A or the B division or a tower operator, getting a ballot in the mail. It's going to be mailed out on November 13th, which is a Friday. If you don't receive your ballot by Wednesday the 18th, which is the following week, you need to call the American Arbitration Association. We're going to put the contact number in the comments. It's 1-800-529-5218. It's 1-800-529-5218. And you also can check it on the union website. They also have the contact number. Just like with Trump, we have zero tolerance for not being able to vote in this election. The union plays games. They know where you live when it's time to send you lying propaganda, when it's time to ask you for cult money. They got plenty of resources to find out where you live. Somehow when your ballots come out, they never seem to know where you live. So we got to make sure that we are able to vote in this election. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact our coalition and we'll be glad to give you the information that you need to get a duplicate ballot. Also, if anybody has seen your union leadership finding the free time to go out and pass out these lying statements in the field, we want to know if you've seen them putting them up. Because if Eric Logel put them up, he's in trouble and he can be removed from office. He's not allowed to do that. He's interfering with an election. He's slandering a Local 100 member, and you all should feel some type of way about that. So if you have seen him, we want to hear from you because not only is it a violation of election rules, It's a violation of the most fundamental right that a union member has, a right to privacy. We want to hear from you. Jason, is your voice thing working or no?
Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, technical difficulties tonight on my part. My apologies, everybody.
Okay.
Um, I just was going to say that it is very good to Seth. I hear what you're saying in regards to that's a good analogy. It's like the military where you have officers who lead, and then you have the soldiers that actually go out and fight the war. But there has to be uh, there's an agreement, there's a relationship that's had between one can't do without the other. You need leadership, but you also need membership, and you need them to be working together and to be out in the field and to be up in management's face and to fight the good fight and to move us forward to stop, to move us forward in a progressive way, but also to stop them from trying to regress us back to, God knows what, to days where we have very little economic rights. We have very little healthcare or right to a living wage or any of these things. Um, that reminds me of FDR. Actually, before he died, he was trying to put out a second Bill of Rights.
Yeah, Workers' Bill of Rights, right? Yeah.
It was. I don't think he called it the Workers' Bill of Rights, but it was a lot of things that we're fighting for now, like even like UBI and universal health care and things of that nature. And these are all the kind of things that may not necessarily be specific to us as Local 100, but I do agree with Seth and John in that we join hand in hand with those that are also fighting against, because it's all economic oppression, and that's what the point of the unions is about, to make sure people have a living wage and we don't have the economic oppression. So, so yeah, that's all I had to say.
You said FDR, but you meant MLK, right?
No, earlier I said MLK, and I meant MLK was fighting for the workers' rights, but FDR, much earlier than MLK, was fighting. He wasn't fighting anything. He had wrote a second Bill of Rights. I can't remember all the. It was like maybe 10 or 9 things he had on the list there, and it was I encourage anybody who's still hearing me, go on YouTube. There's like a video of him just addressing the nation, and he's talking about the second Bill of Rights, and all these things are like stuff that wasn't Bernie talking about that back in 2016 and back in 1776 when Bernie was first elected in office. He's been fighting a good fight. So
yeah, you mean 19, right?
I was. That was an old joke. I was trying to say Bernie is super old.
Okay, I understand. I'm not that young either. Adina, I just wanted to give you a chance to say goodbye. I know you got to get going.
Okay, goodbye, everyone. Nice speaking to you. Very inspiring.
And
very inspiring conversation.
Don't be a stranger. You're welcome anytime, okay?
I will. Thank you, John.
All right, great.
All right, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, Jason.
And Jason, by the way.
Yes.
If it pisses you off as much as it does and enough to get you to union meetings, you need to join a coalition like ours and get involved, man. Seriously. Like, it doesn't take that much involvement. Like, not everybody has to be at my level or Seth's level or Anthony's level. Like, you do what you can. But the point of a coalition is to pull our strength,
Yeah. No, I definitely, that's the goal. That is definitely the goal, to be more involved.
Jason.
Who's
Ralph,
that?
Ralph is hearing you.
That's Ralph.
Oh, what up, man? Oh, you in the darkness? I could hardly. Okay.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Here somewhere.
I hear you. Yo, man, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you.
Great to see you, bro. Great to see you, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in years, man.
I know, man. Exactly right. Yeah, and I see your head is in the right place, man. So you're made for this right here. So
Yeah, and you
I
got
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that from you too, John. But like I said, that's the goal. So yeah, I'm definitely moving in that direction. And yeah, I'll take you up on that. I'll take you up on that offer.
By the way, you should have seen how devastated your union officers were when you backed me up. They were like, "Oh shit." Now
Yeah,
we're
I could give a fuck. I could give a fuck. No, because you know, and I know, and that's when they were like, "Wait, what's your name? Who are you again?"
yeah.
Yeah, Jason Lewis. Learn the name, learn it. But yeah, again, this is my problem with them. And Seth, you brought it up as well. You know, why are they taking these things personally? It's not a personal attack to you. Yo, if I were in their position, I would say, you know what? You're right. I failed you as your representative, as your leadership. I failed you. Now, if I wanted to keep my position, I would say, you know what? Going forward, let me talk to me. What do you need? What do you want me to do as leadership? And I will do it for you as the member. You know what I mean? Like that's how I would approach that. But they got super defensive, and it's about politics now all of a sudden, and that's all the wrong answers, all the wrong answers. So I had to speak up and say something because they were trying to dismiss you, and you
But
know,
unfortunately, they think the reason why they take it personal is because it's like a club. It's like a fraternity. I hate to talk this way about our union, but it's kind of like
no, you're right,
it's a thing of theirs. It's a club. They're all in the club, and you're not. So
right,
you need to be silenced. And
and
don't mess with
that's
my
the wrong mindset to have.
yeah. But the thing is too, though, that they don't realize how much they are in danger too. Even the bureaucrats. Like, do you think the Trumpsters have a second thought about cracking their heads? Do you think that Bezos and company care about busting their union or any of these
Right,
ruling class mouthpieces? They would do it at
right,
a second's notice, and they wouldn't care. They wouldn't have a second thought about it because
right.
they just think the party's going to last forever. They're just going to do whatever they've been doing, and it's been working for them, and it's been working for their families. But it's killing
Yeah,
us.
yeah, because they're motivated by self-interest, and I mean most people are, but they are too short-sighted to see that even if you are motivated by self-interest, a smart person would say, hmm, yeah, I might be motivated by my own personal needs, but it would behoove me to work together with other people to make sure. Because if everybody gets guaranteed rights or job protected or safety issues taken care of at the workplace, that means it'll be easier for me to get all these things. That helps me. You know what I mean? So even if you are thinking about things just from a personal level, even if you were that you're just completely selfish, you care less about anybody else, it would behoove you to at least say, okay, well, let me fight for these things so they affect me too. But
Yeah,
that's not
that's
that's
not.
not their
I think the I
that's
think the
not their thought
problem with
process.
that, Jason, I think you're right. I think the problem with that though is that I think the big difference is that where they are now, they really do not believe in the members' power to fight back. Like they're really entrenched with their day-to-day bureaucratic game. And the idea that the members could rise up, they could help the members rise up and fight is
Right.
alien to them. They just don't believe in our power anymore. And so they play the
And
game they play,
they're not the ones.
and
Right.
it's
Right.
it's
Then
slowly leading to the death of the union movement in this country. Slow up to now, and then I think it's
yeah.
going to get faster. That's why we need leaders like John who actually want
Yeah.
members to stand up and has shown his whole career that that's what he wants. It's not about him. It's about members, and a good officer in there can help rally members and make new
Sure.
leaders. And that's what we
Yeah.
got to try and do.
We gotta wrap this up, guys, because we try to never to go past 2 hours because
Yeah. I am hungry,
failing.
and I'm about due for a technical difficulty.
But I wanted Ralph
It's
to be able
coming
to
up.
say goodbye.
Yeah.
Hey, I listen. I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you having me on here, John. I stand behind you, bro. I know that. You know, your vision is probably larger than most people. Most people, because like I said, most people are thinking about either their personal interests or the interests of transit, whereas I know you have a larger vision, which
Yeah,
which will likely benefit us all in a much
all
greater
of us.
way. So I'm definitely with you, and I appreciate you having me here, bro. And
Thank you, Ralph. And
you
I
know,
think
and,
gas money too, right?
there you go, exactly right.
All right. I'll get it.
You guys have a great night.
You have a great
Yeah,
night.
man. You too, man. Take it easy.
And
Nice-
thank
All right,
Thanks so
everybody
much.
that-
All right.
take
thank
care.
everybody that joined us, and we hope you'll join us again real soon. You all have a great night.
Good
All
night.
right.
Have a great night, guys.
Thanks again. Thanks for having me, John.
Always, you're always welcome. Be safe, okay?
You too.